All right, Jess.
Aim.
It's been so long.
It's way too long.
It's been so long. It's been over a year. It's been a
Really?
really long time. Oh yeah, definitely. We skipped a whole year.
Woo! Wow. Well, welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back to ourselves and to our old listeners and our new listeners.
hmm
Here we are. Yeah.
And we
And
are
we are
Big
Big
Love
Love Hug.
Hug.
Big love hug. That's what we
Mm.
are. That's who we are.
Ooh,
That's who
it's
we
good
want
to
to
be
be in the
back.
world. Yeah, that's who we want. Both Jess and I, that's how this podcast kept came to be, is that we have this commonality of just wanting to cultivate basically like goodness in ourselves,
Mm.
love in ourselves and to spread it as much as we can. I feel like that's both of our kind of mission in life. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I talk
Yeah.
about this a lot in my yoga classes. Like, what's your sphere of influence? Like, where can you actually make a difference? And, like, that's it. This is what I want to do. This is what I feel like my purpose is to
Yeah.
stand in this place of love and to share it with others and watch and watch the ripples continue. That's it. One big
Yeah.
love hug at
Yeah.
a time.
One big love hug at a time. With no pressure though, right? No pressure.
Oh, well, the hug is a little bit of a pressure.
Yeah.
The pressure of
Oh, good pressure. Pressure in. Yeah. A little squeeze. I guess what I meant is that, like we come out and we say like we want to love everyone and then it's kind of like oh my gosh, but what if I can't, or maybe I'm not doing it well enough, or what does that mean? So anyway, I just have to kind of say it, but then also care for the little part of me that's like, can I even do that? Do I do it enough? You know what I mean?
yes. The answer is yes.
Mhm. Yes, I can. Yes, I do. And
Yes, you are.
and you know
Yes,
what
it's
I mean?
enough. Yes, it's enough. That's the answer.
Dainu. Dainu. All right. Well, we decided we should talk about da 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 state of the world, politics,
No, 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 no,
how
no.
crazy
Not
things are.
politics. No.
Well,
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 the state of the world,
state of
for
the
sure.
world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like
How
for me, yeah, for me, what's super important and what the plan to talk about today is like waking up every day. How do I wake up every day with hope and with love and moving forward and feel connected and feeling positive? Like that to me is super important because it's easy. It would be very easy to feel deflated and hopeless, and that is just not how I want to move through the world.
Mhm.
So finding the ways, cultivating the ways, putting energy in the ways where I feel uplifted and hopeful and connected. Like that's to me, that's what I want to talk about today.
I just want to pause for a sec. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Yes. So hopelessness. Yeah, I feel like there's it's just so easy to get sucked in and sucked into a fear place,
Mm-hmm.
fear and like you're saying, hopelessness and not knowing what to do, right? Like that's a big thing that comes up for me is like, how do I interact with this situation that's going on in the world? How do I best use my energy? Without zapping myself, without doing things I really don't want to do. How do I find the things that I do want to do that feel good to me to participate in? What are those things? Like, I feel like being efficient with our time and our energy is so important right now that we don't like
Mm-hmm.
waste ourselves, in the kind of spin of sensationalism.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah. I keep
actually
getting, sorry,
I
go
think
ahead.
about like a lion, like a male lion, right? And
Mm-hmm.
how they are in the world. Mostly they like lie around.
Mm-hmm.
Like they
The
conserve their
lions are
energy.
lying.
The lions are lying down, and then when they need to expend energy, it's like they have all of that, and they like roar.
Mm,
But that's
mm,
not all the time. Like a lot of the times they're resting, their nervous systems are calm. This is what I imagine. I'm
mm.
gonna lays around until it's really important, and then they have all of that energy and they're rested and centered and focused to go in and make the kill.
I, that reminds me of my midwife when I was in the middle of my labor. My midwife, I remember looking at her sitting in the chair and sleeping. And I was like, how could you be sleeping at a time like this? But it wound up being a 50-hour labor. And so she was doing the lion thing. She was resting and then she was like fully ready for when she really needed to be. So yeah,
Exactly.
she knew that part of herself. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So getting rest and self-care and things like that are also really important.
So yeah, a lot of what I do, the work that I do is actually helping people manage their nervous systems right now. Between yoga, I spend a lot of focus on watching your nervous system and how to actively bring it down. Like notice when it goes up and like bring it up on purpose, and then using your breath to bring it down and be centered and grounded. And same with massage. A lot of what I do is just calming people's nervous systems, which is awesome
Hmm.
because at the same time I'm also doing it to myself, calming my
Hmm.
nervous system, which is that rest. If because our nervous systems can be like on flight or fight, fight or flight, like all the time right now, and it's draining and exhausting. And then it's easy to get sick that way because we're depleted. So really being mindful and managing our nervous systems right now, I feel like is really, really important. I mean,
Do you,
always.
do you want to give our listeners some tips yeah, you want to give a couple tips about managing nervous system?
Sure. Oh gosh. So there's a couple of things that I do myself and share with my students, which is when we're in the mind and thinking and running away with stories, is first notice what you're thinking, if you're thinking about the past or the future, right? Something that's actually not happening now, and come to what's actually happening now in your body with your breath. And like for the most part, what's happening right now is nothing. Like nothing's happening right now. I know it's hard to, there's a lot of things in the background, but like right now, here in my body, nothing's happening. And if that's too much, if that's too whatever, if you can't like hold on to that, like to focus on your breath, notice that you're breathing. And then follow your inhale, allow your spine to grow up tall, sitting up nice and tall with an inhale. And then exhale all the way down to the bottom, down through your spine if you're sitting, or if your feet are on the ground, down through the bottoms of your feet, all the way through the ground. So inhaling, your spine nice and tall, maybe up through the crown of your head, if you can imagine that. And then exhaling down, 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 and elongating the exhale. So the exhale is longer than the inhale, maybe just by a count. If you're counting, this is another great thing. Count, inhale to 4 and exhale to 6 or 8. Double it if you can, or 10 if you can. Without pressure, it shouldn't feel weird. There's no should around this. If it feels like it's not your jam, just inhale and exhale to the same, right? If you can extend it, great. And then with every exhale, find places in your body where you're holding tension. Shoulders away from your ears. Unclench your jaw. Relax your lips. Brow. Fingers. Hips. And go do a body scan every time you exhale. See where else you can relax. Oftentimes we're holding places we don't even realize it, like in our diaphragm or our bellies. So first go through the obvious ones. And once those are relaxed, then go through the more subtle ones, like maybe your left toe. With every long exhale, relax a little bit more. And resist the temptation to follow thought. If you notice yourself following thought, gently come back to your breath. Full inhale all the way to the top, and long, slow exhale all the way to the bottom.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, even just saying that helps.
Yeah, I want to say also with like some of our gripping areas, I think, like you said, a lot of them are unconscious and a lot of them won't relax. And so you don't have to, it's okay if you can't relax certain places or even if you can't find them. It's like
Oh
that's like
yeah,
it's a big journey to really know the internal space of our bodies and find those things. So just being curious about it, I think, is a lot,
And
being curious
gentle.
about where
There's
do I
no
hold.
should. Yeah,
Hmm.
and gentle, like no pressure. So I gave a
Hmm.
massage to a client the other day, and one shoulder, when he was laying face up, one shoulder totally relaxed. The other one was like, ugh, like pushing against my pressure. And we're both like, what is that? He's like, I don't
Mm.
know. I can't relax it. I was like, okay, well then we'll just let it stay.
Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
that one just needs to stay right now. And that's okay. Like that was really
Nice.
sweet. He felt very seen.
Beautiful. Or like with process work, you could go in the other direction of like, what if we really like really tense it up or really like, like put pressure on it. Like when I do it, I'm like a football player and I'm like an offensive guard or something like that, like I'm just like, like you might get something out of it
Right. Like maybe that
because
needs to be there. That strength,
yes,
that power. Yeah. Like let
right.
that be okay. Let that be okay.
Exactly. Or like
Yeah.
bring it all the way through. It's like, sometimes those body holding things are just stuck processes, things that never got a chance to complete. Like it's like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like what if I did go into the offensive line, and that was like my new me, is like a little bit on the offense instead of always holding myself back, or I'm just dreaming into his process, with the shoulder
Mm-hmm.
thing. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, being curious about it in whichever direction you take it,
Yeah.
right? But
And just
acceptance
accepting it. Yeah.
instead of judgment is definitely the first.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh. And
definitely
it
the
felt
first
really
step.
good for both of us. Like I was like, I don't have to work it through and make it relax. No, like we're
Right.
just like, okay, we'll just leave that there.
Yeah, yeah.
It was really sweet.
You can even give it a name like strong shoulder, or like, like something. It's
I'll
fun to
send them to
like
you
be
next. That's not what I
playful.
do in my practice. I'll send them to
I'm
you.
not
You
saying
guys
what you
can
should do. I'm talking to like the people who are listening to the
work.
podcast about, no, yeah, I'm not telling you what you should do with your client. I'm just saying there's so many things that we could do with the things that happen in our bodies that are mysterious, that we don't
Hmm.
understand, that we don't know. And, often in meditation things, same in realization process, a lot of it is about like learning to rest, learning to let go, learning to relax. But when we bring process work in, then it's also being curious about, why am I not relaxed? Like maybe there's something in there, and if we allow that, if we get engaged with it and say like, well, so, oh, I was going to go into a personal example, but I'm not going to. Anyway, things can come up that are like so interesting that can stick with us for the rest of our lives. We can get to know a part of ourselves that we just didn't know by being curious about a body symptom and saying, well, what if I did, instead of
Hmm.
forcing it down, make it relax, that whole thing. It's nice to just accept it. I feel like that's the first step, is like, hello, strong shoulder or whatever. But then it's kind of like, what if you were really strong? What would you do if you could do anything, shoulder? And it's just it opens up a world,
I love
it's a
that.
part of us. Yeah.
I love
The
that.
body is
Yeah.
holding all of our powers, it's holding all of that information for us.
Yeah.
So it's like, gosh, we have so much magic right here that we don't use and we don't access,
Oh my gosh,
and just,
so much. So much.
yeah.
So just yesterday I was walking with a friend and she was talking about her spirit animals, and one of them is a lion, which is interesting. Back to the
Hey.
lion. She said that when feels a lion, she feels it on her back. Like I actually
Mm,
start feeling it as soon as I said that, like this lion on her back. And we were walking to get dinner, and she's like, I'm walking differently right now. She's like, try it.
mm.
I was like, she's like, be a snake. I'm like, oh, hey, And then she's like, be a bird, like just feeling into it. And then my body felt different and I felt different, and like,
Yeah.
it's magic. Our
Yes.
minds connecting to our body with intention that way is
Yeah.
magic.
With curiosity and playfulness and openness and freedom.
And the other thing
Yeah.
that I think is so powerful too is our bodies are listening to everything we think.
Hmm.
Like everything we think, whether we think thoughts about ourselves or what we think thoughts about the world, our bodies are listening, right?
Hmm.
So, and we have choices about what we think about, right? So stories. I'm really into the idea that we make up stories all the time, all the time, but we don't remember their stories. We think that it's true. Like the example I give all the
Right.
time is you're driving in a car and somebody looks at you like sourpuss face. And like the first story people make up is, what did I do? I mean, maybe not everybody. Maybe some people are like, what are you doing? My first story is, oh my God, I did something wrong. And to first recognize it was a story, and second, make up another story. Okay, that was my like reflex story. What's another story I can make up? I was like, oh my God, they have to pee so bad.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Or like, oh my God, they have, IBS or something like totally not about me at all. Like as
Right.
many stories as I can make that are not my reflex, not about me, and then
Yeah.
keep making up stories and then make the best case story. Like if we're going to make up stories, why not make up the story which is the best possible outcome or the best
Mm-hmm.
possible way of being in the
The
world?
big love hug story.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So that's
Nice.
how I feel about right now in the world,
Yeah.
in the state
Yeah.
of the world. Is like it's so easy to get caught up in a future story which hasn't happened yet. And that story generally is like a story based on fear or fear. Fear?
Right.
you know?
Right. Yes. And
Well, what's
also hypnosis, I want to add like that. There's just kind of these zeitgeists, like these thought forms that are out there in our culture or right now in society. Zeitgeists are like time spirits, and we
what's a
can all get kind of,
zeitgeist?
it's like
What
a
does that mean?
time spirit. It's like it's like the thoughts of the time, or like, the energy of the time, or like a
Like a
collective
collective?
unconscious,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
collective belief, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
of the
Mm-hmm.
time. They kind of move through, right? They're time
Mm-hmm.
based, but
Mm-hmm.
that we all can get caught up in it. So there's some element of it that's a truth. There is like a lot of power dynamics going on right now. There are a lot of power dynamics going on right now in the world. Um, but how much do we let ourselves get like gripped into fear by those ideas? How much do we let ourselves hook in and believe that they're the truth? Like make
Right.
that be the real story.
Right.
And I feel like this is a problem with humanity, is wanting to know, is wanting to be the one who knows, or wanting to be smarter than somebody else. All of the what is it called when you have conspiracy theory? Everybody who's into conspiracy theories is like trying to know the real thing. It's like, oh, they're doing this to us, and now I know more than they know, or I know more than everybody else knows. And it's kind of this like battle of who's the smartest or who has the right information.
Yeah. I
And
would say right. Right. Yeah. Who's
yeah,
right?
being right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
right. And I think it's just a place of misery because we lose community and humanity in there. We lose questioning and curiosity, and we kind of grasp onto some idea that we think is right, that
Mm-hmm.
we think is the right one. And then we have some kind of power over and some kind of dominance because we're the one who knows the real story. And yeah, I just think it's a tough thing. Of course, we want to I guess with like things like gaslighting or like political secrets that happen or insider trading things or whatever it is that goes on that's like dicey on both the Democrat and Republican side. We all know this happens with people who get into power, that
Just
they get
people.
corrupted by, most people get corrupted by power, and most people who seek powerful places are, they're power hungry. They, in some way, they
Mm-hmm.
want that taste of more. They want that power. It's unfortunate. We should put the most humble people into power, not the people who are power hungry, I think. Um,
Well,
but anyway,
yeah.
I can't remember
Yeah.
where I was going about being right, but I, I just, there's some kind of better way. Oh, watching out for hypnosis. Being careful of like, have I gotten caught up in this story or belief, and I've begun to believe that it's true, that it's
Right.
factual, that it's objective truth, when I don't know. I mean, I
Right.
can never say that I know anything. It's so much freedom to say like, I really don't know. I couldn't possibly know. I couldn't possibly know what's
Yeah.
really true in this world. All I know is my body. That's the only truth that I know, is what's here inside myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even that's changing all the time.
It's true. I mean, there's no way we'll ever know what is actually happening. There, I mean, the world is a huge place and there's so many things happening at once, but like the news that we're fed is
Right.
not,
Forget
is,
it.
no, that's not the truth. That's not the truth. And we'll never know. We'll really, really never know. Right. So what do we know? Like your body, right? What's happening around you, our sphere of influence. Like, what is your actual sphere of influence? Where sphere of influence? Where can you make a positive impact? Where can you actually make a difference? You know, and if
Hmm.
I feel like to me, that's what's helpful. That's what helps me wake up in the morning feeling hopeful
Yeah.
and positive is the place where I actually am effective is not, it's right here, and it is in community, and it is being with one another and feeling into that truth, because that's true, you know, that we're together and we care about one another, and that will always be so. That will always be so. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll just say one thing about that is that, whatever's happening in a bigger space, like on a macrocosm, is also happening in our microcosms. So almost, I noticed this during the first Trump presidency, is that organizations started having they started having a lot of infighting
Mm-hmm.
during the first Trump presidency, because they were getting polarized. We weren't like unifying. It wasn't a time
Mm-hmm.
of unification, because in leadership, what we were being,
Right.
modeled,
Yeah.
what's, the thing that's in power kind of trickles down into all of our little microcosms, into our internal relationship, probably on the individual level, into interpersonal relationships, into communities, organizations. And so if we can notice that, now here I am thinking I'm right about something, but that's just what I'll just say what I noticed. If we can notice that and say, that's not what I want. I don't want polarization. I don't want to say I'm right and you're wrong. I don't want to say this is good and that's bad. Um, I want to understand this other person and find our commonalities, or how can we, with this, all these differences, how can we agree on something, or move together, or agree to disagree, or how can we live in harmony with this polarization here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just keeping my eyes personally on that prize, of like wanting to get through. And I'm even noticing it right now with our neighbors, that we have certain neighbors that, like, for some reason, polarization is showing up with. And I can
Mm-hmm.
feel this instinct, in the field, to separate and to fight and to be against. And I just keep bringing my heart to these connections, even if it's not in communication, even if it's just inside me, where I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, I love this neighbor of mine. I know that they're acting out in some way right now. I'm going to hold the highest good for us. And whether or not I'm ready to bridge that and say something, like maybe our relationship isn't ready for me to say something right now. Maybe they're not ready for me to say something right now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily about that, but I can still hold in my heart that, like, this is going to be fine, and it's going to be better. It's going to actually be better. I'm
Yeah.
going to make it better. And maybe it's not the right time right now, but it's going to be good, because I'm going to just keep bringing my truth and my
Yeah.
best.
I'm actually in a very similar practice, and I think this is going back to the beginning about nervous system and being mindful about what's happening in your own body. So there's a relationship where I'm not I could easily go into fear or anger or like some emotion around it that is um, has some tension or dissonance, or it's like not a place of love and compassion,
Mm.
and feel how that feels in my body, to feel like anger or fear or like towards this person. And in my body, it doesn't feel good. So choosing in my body to come to project out, to feel into, to have thoughts of love and compassion and kindness towards this other person for no other reason other than it feels better for me in my body,
Yeah.
right? And I know, because energy is energy, that will shift the relationship at some point. But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it first for me and how it feels here, right?
Yeah.
And that's my fear of influence right there is me. What can I do? I can shift my thoughts to love and compassion and kindness towards this person, and that's it. And just stay there, stay in my lane, and keep coming back to that. And trust, like you said, trust that that will work itself out beyond this, but this is where it starts. And when I
Yeah.
sit with that, that feels that feels calming. I feel more centered. I feel better. It doesn't, and nothing else changed, right? The relationship, that person, I don't know, whatever, that's not my concern. My concern is me. And coming from that place moving forward, that has ripples.
Yeah. Imagine everybody did that. Imagine everybody came into a place in themselves and they're like, you know what? I'm going to choose to generate love from inside myself and trust that that's going to be, effective. If everybody did that, you
Okay,
know,
and I also want to add it's not easy because it's not the first reflex. It's not the thing that happens first. Like we're not really trained in this. It's
yeah.
like it's in having to choose it over and over and recognize like, oh, there I go again and come back. And it's like grooving a new path. It's similar to things I've said in the past. If y'all have listened to me before, it's like you have to choose a new groove. It's like learning a new language or playing a new instrument or whatever it is. The new thing is new until it's not. And it's repetition, repetition, repetition until that groove is deep that it just runs on its own. But so it's not
Hmm.
easy. That's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. It
Because you have
becomes
to
easy.
work at it. You have to
Yeah,
do it. It has to be a discipline.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
our brains are wired for threat more than for pleasure. It's like
Sure.
it's our neurobiology. It's like
Survival.
yeah, exactly. We still have like cave person brains. That's
Yeah,
that's
that makes
why
sense. Of course. Otherwise, we'd be
yeah.
dead, eaten.
Well, I think we've moved on from that, hopefully.
Well, no, that's how it began. But we've
Yeah.
evolved. Now we can make different choices.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, we could. Yeah, we
We do.
can.
We are. We
Hmm.
will. We will.
Yeah.
We are. One
Yeah.
choice at a time. That's
Yeah.
what I believe.
Yeah.
This is what I believe.
It's like, what would a person have to do to let go of their, like that poise? Like if you were somebody who was like really defensive, really paranoid, didn't trust people,
Mhm.
just like conspiracy theorist, all that stuff, what would it take to say like, I'm gonna I'm gonna slowly transition. I'm gonna let like I think you'd really have to be in a place of leap of faith, like it's okay to let go of all that stuff.
So I'm gonna actually, it goes back to like that shoulder, right? My client whose shoulder just wouldn't relax. Like, okay, that's okay. Like whatever fear you have or whatever, is holding you from trusting people, like that's there for a reason. Not
Hmm.
to try to dismantle it quickly or make it wrong or whatever. Like that is there for a reason. And like
Yeah.
honoring that, like that was super, super helpful and saved you when you needed it. It was there, and we've and like give like
Hmm.
just loving and accepting that in and
Yeah.
of it, and I feel like that's the first place.
And there's also like this is a memory. Like how much am I just living out traumas from the past or fears
Yeah,
from the past? How much am I still, like you were saying before, the body holds all of our thoughts and memories.
right.
So like how much am I still like me from long ago and not tuning into like what's the truth of the moment right here and right now,
Yeah,
like what's actually happening? Nothing.
right.
Right.
And
Just
that's
the
that
memory.
takes work. That's the choosing and choosing and choosing. That's not how I
Yeah.
grew up. I definitely
Right.
grew up like defensive and walking on eggshells and fearful and like so it's not an easy flip to switch.
But there is this thing. So let me do this Janina Fisher thing. So Janina Fisher is somebody who works with trauma, and her way of helping people click out of a kind of hypnotized, fear-based position or mental position. If you notice that you're triggered, if you notice that all of a sudden you've lost contact with the present moment and you're in that fear space, she has a sequence of things that she does with her clients, which is first you straighten up your spine, just like Jess was saying before with the breath. You straighten up your spine and you say, this is a memory.
Mm.
This is a memory. So whatever this kind of traumatic response that's going on inside the body is, it's like, this is a memory. We put that into the past and we come into the present moment with our spine straight. And then we connect with our highest self, our highest being, our highest way of, of ourselves, the highest place we know ourselves to be. And just breathe and check in with yourself right here and notice what's actually really true and what's happening really right now in the moment. But it's a very simple thing just to say, this is a memory, straighten up your spine. Because what happens, this is like a limbic system thing. I think it's the limbic system, which is that we start to curl, and it's like we're kind of curling into this, like, the amygdala. We're curling into like fear and the old part of the brain, the trauma part of the brain, right? The fight or flight part. And so to straighten up your spine physically brings us back into the present moment and where we have connection again to our rational brain, which is the front of the brain. So it does a couple of different things. This is a memory, you say it out loud, and then you connect with your high self and you come back to being able to think critically and think rationally instead of just being in that kind of curled up fear position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, almost always when we realize that we're in that kind of memory, our spine is not straight. We're not
Mm-hmm.
sitting up straight. So
Interesting.
just even working on your posture on a daily basis will help with going into those states,
Mm.
because those states are connected with that forward curl, those fear states. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is good. I think this helps me, and hopefully, dear
Hmm.
listeners, there's something to take away in terms of walking through the world with more hope and presence and less fear and fewer future tripping stories.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my hope. That's my hope for all of us right now.
And can I add one thing about
Of
all
course.
this? I just
Please.
want to say that, like, when the shit starts hitting the fan, which we could say it might be happening right now, I feel like it's a call to myself and hopefully a call to everyone to bring out, like, it's like bring out our best, like, what are my true gifts in life, and am I activating them? Am I doing the things that I've always wanted to do? Like when people get a diagnosis that they're like about to die, or they only have a year to live, it's like it's that kind of time. I feel like is like, let's bring what we've got, let's not
Mm-hmm.
waste any more time doing the things that we don't want to do,
Mm-hmm.
or being the person we don't want to be. Like, what are those little resources that are inside? Maybe you're really an artist, or really a creative, or really a singer, or really a community leader, but you just haven't started doing that yet. Maybe you have like some special knowledge that you haven't shared with people yet, or I whatever it is, whatever those resources are that you have that you're not using. I feel like now is the time for everybody to bring their greatness. I just really think it's time for us to all be our highest selves, to take that leap of faith and take that, what's so funny?
I just totally had this image when I was growing up. I watched what was it called? It was like cartoon. It was Superman, but it wasn't just Superman. It was like the Hall of Fame, like with all of the superheroes. And there was two. They're the Wonder Twins. And when
Uh-huh.
there's like a
Activate.
crisis, they would come together and they say,
Yes.
"Wonder Twin powers activate."
Activate. Yes.
And they would
Yes.
touch the rings together. One would turn into a monkey, and the other one
Form
would turn
of,
into
yeah,
a form
shape
of
of,
an eagle, right? So
shape
that's it.
of,
Like it's
flying
time for
fish.
you've seen them, right? Wonder
Yes.
Twin powers activate. And what I love about that is it's community. It's people coming together. It's not just
Yes.
one person. It's
Yes.
Wonder Twin powers. And the power is in
Yes.
coming together. And then they become their highest selves. And it's a call to action, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And it goes
Yes.
back to the lion. Like they're not they're just like normal people until they're needed. And then when
Uh-huh.
they're needed, bam, Wonder Twin powers activate. That's exactly
Mm.
where we are.
Right. So
So
then this is a good question to people like, what would your Wonder Twin power be? You know, if you could be
exactly.
if you could have a power, if you could have like a archetype that you could just kind of zing into, activate through connection,
Right.
what would that be? Do you know for you, Jess, what yours would be?
Oh, mine is definitely community building. Like
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
realized recently, like I've been chasing summer camp since I was
Hmm.
a camper. That connection, that place of freedom and community and togetherness and like being in community is something I've been craving my whole life. And that's my superpower. That's what I'm about is
Mm.
is creating summer camp.
Mm.
Wonder Twin
Beautiful.
powers activate form of a camp counselor.
Form of a camp counselor, yes. Shape of. I don't know what mine is. I feel like disconnected from it in the moment. Um, but when I just kind of tune in inside, I see myself as like a pastel cloud, like a almost not, it's not a tornado, it's like more like a swirling pastel cloud over everybody, just kind of like I just want to make things easier for people.
Mm, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Shape of a pastel cloud.
Hey, so can we put a thing in a link? I would like to link a song. Can we link a song to our
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Okay,
so. What
I'm
is
gonna
it?
tell you what it is first. It's Rising Appalachia. Rising Appalachia. Let me make sure. Yeah, Rising Appalachia is the name of the band, and the
Mm-hmm.
song is called Resilient.
Oh, beautiful.
And I have it on repeat. And
Great.
one of the lines in it is, "Put us all together, and we make a mighty roar."
Nice. Beautiful. The lion. Back to the
Exactly.
lion.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Do what you can in your relationships and your communities. Bring that magic power that you have, into your spheres of
Yeah.
influence. Yeah,
Ooh,
that's what
and
we can do.
another invitation is if you're listening to this and you have a way to make a comment, let us know what your Wonder Twin power is.
Yeah, that's what we want to know. Yeah, or if you need help with that, maybe we can help you figure it out. I'm just wondering about coming up with a little exercise for people that they could tap into their Wonder Twin power.
Hmm,
Yeah. Anyway, maybe I'll work on that and do it as a separate little video, but
that
that's
would be
some inner
awesome.
work. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.